Sandman made a video, and it got me to thinking about prostitution, and it's only now I've had the time to comment on his video.
Hi everyone, Sandman here.
Oh what? You people thought I was going to make a joke here? Nah, I'm not going to make fun of Sandman in this video.
If men going their own way ever needed a reason to ghost or stay away from prostitutes, or basically never have sex with them,
all we'd have to do is look at your mama. Yeah, I lied about not making fun of you, sue me.
then this would be it. Someone sent me a story from Australia that happened a number of years ago. Apparently a married man got a prostitute pregnant,
Kevin Wayne?
and she decided to keep the child, and asked him to pay $400 per month in informal child support.
Alright, that wasn't cool, I apologize Kevin.
He had a great job that paid him $140,000 a year, and when he lost that job, he was no longer able to pay her, so she decided to take the matter in front of the courts. And I'm putting a link to the story in the description below. The story is quite simple. A man pays for sex with a prostitute. She gives birth to his baby, and then he refuses to pay her the hush-hush child support money because his wife becomes ill and he loses that high-paying job. So he's no longer capable of paying her. This happened in Australia, where prostitution is legal in certain places. So the man told the federal magistrate in court that having children with this prostitute known as Miss Logan—
Her name was Miss Logan? The fuck man? The fuck? Who the fuck bangs a hooker called Miss Logan? If I am going to fuck a whore, I want her to have a real slutty name like Pussy Galore. Yeah, give me a name that cries out I'm a filthy whore, like Shirley Viagra, Karma Slutra, Susan Boob Anthony, Sherry Pepper, Lizzie McLovins, Janet Bloomfield, a lot of vagina, Caramel Delight, Crystal. Yeah, I've never met a woman named Crystal that wasn't a slut. I mean, come on guys, you name your daughter something like Crystal or Bambi, you're asking for her to grow up to be a stripper or escort. Actually, another guarantee that your daughter is going to be an escort is if you name her after an automobile like Porsche, including the alternate spelling, Porsche, Mercedes, Alhambra, Allura, or Ferrari. Hell, I went to a brothel one time and said, yeah, I like women with a fast sexy name. I want a woman named after a car. They set me up with a 300-pound black woman named Buick. Not that I'm complaining.
Straight in court that having children with this prostitute known as Miss Logan was unintentional, and that he shouldn't have to pay her because he had basically fallen on hard times.
Completely random, but I like to sometimes daydream about a future where a man has sex with a prostitute, she gets knocked up. The John finds out, claims he was raped by the power of her seduction during a vulnerable time period caused by his wife's abuse, and thus could not consent. Not only does that make the prostitute the rapist, but sues for child custody, and then makes her pay for it. Okay, that future probably would never take place, and I'm not even really advocating the balance of power between the sexes shift that much, but it's fun to daydream about this stuff. You know, think about what it would be like to be the privileged sex, you know, divorce a woman for getting fat, take her kids, car, house, and then shack up with other women, and when between women, force the ex-wife to give you sex, or you will imprison her by reporting how late she is on child support. You know, like the awesome ability women have now to either take her ex to court and have him thrown into the male rape factory known as prison, or to just blackmail him and keep him dangling. Just make him do whatever under threat of, well, I might just have to go to the cops over your late payment. I just like to fantasize sometimes about what it would be like if the genders were reversed and we were the privileged. You know what, I have so greatly derailed from the topic, ADHD and all that. Let's start again.
Hi everyone, Sandman here. If men going their own way ever needed a reason to ghost or stay away from prostitutes, or basically never have sex with them, then this would be it. Someone sent me a story from Australia that happened a number of years ago. Apparently a married man got a prostitute pregnant, and she decided to keep the child, and asked him to pay $400 per month in informal child support. He had a great job that paid him $140,000 a year, and when he lost that job, he was no longer able to pay her, so she decided to take the matter in front of the courts. And I'm putting a link to the story in the description below. The story is quite simple. A man pays for sex with a prostitute. She gives birth to his baby, and then he refuses to pay her the hush-hush child support money because his wife becomes ill and he loses that high-paying job. So he's no longer capable of paying her. This happened in Australia, where prostitution is legal in certain places. So the man told the federal magistrate in court that having children with this prostitute known as Miss Logan was unintentional, and that he shouldn't have to pay her because he had basically fallen on hard times. Mr. Lilly, the man in question, said that he had another child with his own wife, who was physically ill. And he said that his new lower-paying job wouldn't provide him enough money to basically support his existing family and continue to pay child support to the prostitute. The financial burdens have become too hard for him. Stories like this are an issue for men going their own way, because I know some of you frequent escorts.
John Hembling.
Yet, young 20-something escorts are not socially rewarded for being sluts and using their sexuality, youth, and power to attract such men. Society in general, and more specifically women, don't usually approve of the behavior of prostitutes, because I believe they secretly envy them.
Well, yes, they want to be sluts, but if they give it away for free, they lower their value. A woman is as valuable as her sexual allure, and her sexual allure is as expensive as women make it by keeping their legs closed. Not only is this true for the individual but also the collective. Women know this and shame any woman giving it away too easily, thus lowering the value of pussy. Women want to be sluts, and will do this at cosplay, Halloween, slut walk, because they won't be shamed. They can say just a costume, it was just activism. Now let me talk about paying a prostitute, or paying any female, for any sort of affection or sexual gratification, is to depreciate yourself. A man's sexual need is his weakness. Any woman benefiting by giving a man sex, is exploiting him, whether it's a hooker or a housewife. All sex workers are exploiters. In my eyes, all sex workers are just pedophiles. They are in a position of great power, and they exploit that dynamic. And when a man pays for these sexual favors, or pays for porn and cam shows etc., he is debasing himself. He is allowing himself to be exploited. If a man did not have the crippling weakness of sexual need, he would not be handing money and services to a woman for sex. In the same way that encouraging a woman to continue drinking, so that her social skills and inhibitions are lowered, to take advantage of her inebriated state and get sex from her when she otherwise wouldn't give it up, is considered by both men and women to be deplorable behavior. Feminists, and now even the law, calls it rape. When a man's cock is throbbing, he is as in control of himself as the woman too drunk to stand on her own feet. If the woman who gives that man with the throbbing cock, sex, but she did it to take something from him, such as money, then he has been raped. A man with a throbbing cock cannot be in his right state of mind to handle money. Any taking of his money is, if not full-blown rape, at the very least, exploitation. Again, women in the sex industry, they might as well be pedophiles, taking advantage of children who don't know any better. Now I know a lot of my MGTOW brothers are listening to this and thinking, Jesus, dude, you weren't kidding, you are extreme even for a MGTOW. But here's the thing. Beneath the manly pride, I think we all know it's true. We know that we are helpless slaves to our dick. Women know this and use it to their advantage. How many times have we all done something, because we were horny, and after we climaxed, we instantly thought, oh God, this was a mistake. In the same way that it is rape, and if not rape at least exploitation, when a woman puts out, and then once sober, feels ill the morning after what she did when not in her right state of mind. In many cases, that's how men are, just from the hormonal intoxication of sexual arousal. To anyone who has ever paid a hooker, purchased porn online, called a phone sex girl, or something like that, let me ask, would you have done it if you were not horny at the time? This is no different than asking a woman, that sex you gave that dude last night, would you have done that last night had you been sober? And she answers no. Society says then you were raped. Likewise with us men. I'm not saying we should push to make it by law, rape, when a woman accepts money from a man for sexual favors, and I only say that because of the difficulty in trying to enforce such a law. So I don't expect sex workers to get locked up for rape, just because she took advantage of a man's sexual needs, and raped his wallet. I don't expect it to be a law, but ethically, it's rape. A woman who is a sex worker, is a sexual predator. She preys on men's libido, his sexual vulnerability, coercing a man out of his money, exploiting her power dynamic like a pedophile coercing a child with gifts and candy. And again, I think under our pride, under our masculine facade, I think we know this. I think we know when it comes to sex, us men are vulnerable naive children, and the thing is, I think Sandman knows this on some level, and a bit of knowledge of this fact slipped through and surfaced later in this same video.
And the difference between strip clubs and dance clubs is that the goal for men is to take the wannabe strippers, i.e. women on the dance floor, home, by buying them enough drinks to put them at ease and eliminate the social tension. Whereas in a strip club the goal is to get the men drunk, so they become relaxed enough to go home on their own. If a man gives enough alcohol to a woman, he is disarming her ability to protect herself using her social abilities, which are oftentimes much stronger than his because she's learned the art of manipulating men at a very young age. And alcohol turns off the ability to do so. So a tipsy or drunk woman and a sober man are almost equal in their ability to socialize and interact with one another in most cases.
A sober man and a drunk woman are on equal social levels. Another way of saying it is, a man is so under women's sexual power, and lacks so much social skills, women have power over him, and women have conscious cognitive knowledge and ability over him. That is, women are in control and have the upper hand in this power dynamic, unless you get a really drunk. Again, what Sandman said, isn't so different from what I said, that a man is not in his right state of mind to make decisions when horny. Any taking of his money, or using him in any way, is exploitation, if not completely rape. And if you want to talk about a rape culture, we are a culture that normalizes men buying things for women, and supporting her for life via marriage. We normalize, encourage, glamorize and glorify this exploitative, rape, dynamic. Again, I am hesitant to come right out and call it rape. Certainly if we go by the feminist standards of how rape works, my god, it is rape to the nth degree, but by the standards of what old-fashioned pre-feminist era rape was, no, it is not rape. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the legalization of prostitution. I think it is a thing that ought to stay legal, and here is why. As in Sandman's video, we heard how legalized prostitution in some part of Australia got a man in trouble. I want you to imagine here in the United States, prostitution being legalized on a federal level. Prostitution will be run by companies. There will be no anonymity for the client. Of course, the whores themselves will have every measure of protection and anonymity possible. Clients will be forced to hand over every possible contact information, giving the whore, and her contractor, company, and perhaps all co-workers, your information. Then there will come need for everybody to get all sorts of license, and then safety. Lots of bureaucracy. Everything you do with the whore can be called rape at any time. Her word is always taken. These women will do what women do, demand safety and protection. They will demand it from the companies, and they will demand the government make the companies give them more safety and protection. What you'll end up getting is prostitution being controlled by a conglomeration of greedy exploitative capitalists who want to harvest your wallet and your data, feminists who want to make sure these women can call rape and trauma at the drop of a hat, and a government that feels the need to erect an entirely new agency to deal with the prostitution industry. I want you to imagine a whole new agency like the FCC, AFT, EPA, FTC, or FDA, a whole new agency to regulate feminist-supported prostitution. Dear libertarians, you think government's got its hands in people's business now? You think there is too much bureaucracy and regulation now? You ain't seen shit, until you see prostitution being regulated on a federal level. If it's just one county, just one state, that's one thing. But when that shit becomes legal in all 50 states and regulated on a federal level, and you know feminists will have all the power and stroke within those regulatory agencies and their policies, man, let me just tell you, you think it's bad now, you ain't seen nothing yet. And of course when the health and disease control becomes an issue, and these women are required to have this and that special medical screening, and the clients are needed to have medical screening, and the government starts forcing medical coverage into this industry, again, it's a libertarian's worst nightmare. Regulation and bureaucracy will be taken to new levels of epic proportion, and because this is a safe way for women to exploit men, and perfectly legal, and taxes, and government agencies watching their own back, black market prostitution will be severely illegal. They will continue to amp up the penalty for black market, non-government license, prostitution, to the point of buying a hookah anonymously in a back alley, will mean you're paying $500 to fuck a bitch with AIDS, and if you're caught you will do 10 to 20 years in jail. You'll get one choice of hookah, the legal government-regulated hookah. It will be a dystopian nightmare. So in conclusion, sex workers are horrible exploiters of male weakness. I detest them as I would pedophiles. Men should attempt to avoid paying, in any way, for sex or affection from a woman. Yeah, I know, it sounds a little bit like victim blaming, but men need to stop allowing these women to exploit them. A housewife is a long-term hooker, and a hooker is a short-term rent-a-wife. There are ways men can get sexual relief by means where women do not benefit. That is no exploitation of men, but that's a big subject, and I'll leave that for another video.
Slutwalks are like Christmas for fat chicks and unattractive women. They get to pretend that they are highly desired for the day.